Hey couples, I'm in the studio again with Tracy, and we're talking today about the third marriage principle. So we've got three principles in marriage basics. We've talked about love as the basis for a healthy marriage. We talked about trust as one of those really very important things. It's hard to really move forward in marriage without two trustworthy people. And today we're getting to just a very basic skill. What's the skill that we're talking about today?
Learning how to fight right.
Okay.
So it's all about communication, especially in times of conflict.
Yeah. So here's the principle. Marriage principle number 3, healthy couples keep talking. And that also means sometimes in conflict.
Yes.
Sometimes it's just communication. Communication is good. Healthy communication in a marriage is great, right?
Yes.
So does that mean that we can fight? It's right for couples to fight?
Yes, if you do it the right way.
Okay.
So here's the thing. I think some people think, well, fighting is bad. Fighting means that we're maybe not compatible. Fighting means that, maybe we've got some insurmountable issues that we're not going to be able to overcome. Fighting seems to be something that shows weakness in a relationship. But the truth is, when you're willing to engage with your spouse and to say, let's fight through this, let's get through this, is actually showing that we care enough about each other and our marriage to say we're going to give some energy to working through this. If our attitude is just to kind of walk away, say whatever, and not engage ever in the things that cause conflict, then that's really the more scary response.
Yeah.
That's maybe more saying, maybe I don't care enough about the relationship to fight for it.
And maybe I've given up on it.
Yeah.
I've disengaged from it, and then maybe divorce might not be far off, right?
Yes.
So maybe it's a little bit frightening to see a couple that says we've never fought in our whole life.
Yeah, that's actually would be more concerning to me as a counselor to hear that.
Yeah, because maybe somebody's railroading, one of the people
Correct.
is railroading the other one in the marriage.
Right.
That's
or they're just
healthy.
not being authentic in the relationship.
Yeah,
You're just not truthful or honest.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about some bad habits and good habits. Talk us through the 3 bad habits, and as Tracy explains these, I encourage you to think about which one of these is your go-to bad habit of miscommunication, really.
Yes. Okay, so I will confess this first one is my bad habit, and it's escalation. So this is for the person that when you're in a conversation, it's causing some conflict, you're not agreeing, the escalating person is going to raise their voice, you're going to get louder, you're going to start yelling, your body language is going to be more aggressive, and it's going to be like, I'm angry with you, I'm frustrated, and you're going from 0 to 10. So escalating is a bad habit because what typically would happen with you if you hear me raising my voice?
Well, then I might go to the second unhealthy habit, which is to withdraw.
Right.
Just say, hey, listen, I'm not a yeller. I don't want to get in this yelling mode. If we can't talk as 2 adults about it, you're escalating, I'm withdrawing. Yeah. And so now we've got 2 of the 3 bad habits.
Right. So you're trying to balance out my overreaction with your underreaction, which in the end, let's think about this, for the escalator is only going to make me escalate more, right? Because I'm wanting to get a response. I want you to know that I'm angry.
Right.
So if you're withdrawing and retreating, then we're still not engaging in a conversation. We haven't gotten anywhere yet. It's just how we're reacting.
And by the way, it doesn't always work that the escalator starts first. It could be that one of you withdraws, and so to get your attention, the other one has to escalate to try to feel heard.
To snap you into, right, exactly.
Okay, so it's not like one's worse than the other.
Yeah, they're both bad habits because at the end of the day, neither of them are getting you to an actual conversation about what the problem is.
Yeah. Now, the third one then is invalidation. So talk us through, what does it look like for me to invalidate you or for a spouse to invalidate a spouse?
Well, invalidation is, I think a lot of us probably would think that, I don't think I invalidate my spouse, but if we start thinking about it, like maybe a way you would invalidate me is just to, maybe with a tone of, because I'm more of an escalator, be like, okay, you don't have to be so scary right now, so you're kind of in a passive aggressive way, kind of invalidating, like I'm not going to acknowledge that you're clearly angry. I'm going to start by saying you're kind of out of control. So that's kind of an invalidation. Or maybe if you're expressing something, I'll be like, well, that's dumb. Why would you think that way? Right? I think we all use invalidation. What it is just saying your viewpoint or your perspective, I don't really agree with it or care about it.
So couples, those are 3 unhealthy habits, unhealthy ways, and everyone's got a little bit of all those, but some of you might say, boy, that is me. I escalate, or I withdraw, or I invalidate. So let's Let's now talk just real quick about the 3 healthy habits,
Yes.
3 good habits of communication in marriage. Talk us through that.
Okay, so when we're getting ready to have a conversation that's a little harder, where we're having a disagreement, the first good skill you need to choose is to use I feel because statements. Brian, I'm feeling angry because you came home late again for dinner for the 5th time this week. So I'm giving an I feel, so I'm starting a sentence. I'm starting a conversation with you by saying, this is how I feel, and here's the reason why. Now, that's different than if I say, you jerk, you were late again. Right? Because now I'm putting you on the defensive.
Right.
But for me to say, this is just how I feel, you can't say, well, you don't really feel that way.
Right.
You can't feel that way.
Right.
So I feel because is very important to get the conversation started.
Yeah, and don't say, I feel like you're a jerk because.
right.
What you say is, I feel frustrated. You're taking ownership of your emotions.
Right.
Because of some, maybe you do feel like they're a jerk, but let them come to that conclusion. You're really just trying to be a little more diplomatic so that
Yes.
you're both still listening to each other.
Because there's a chance that that's a misunderstanding.
Right.
And I'm misinterpreting something.
Yeah.
Or there was a good reason why you were late.
Yeah.
And if I took the time to listen to that, I wouldn't be so angry.
Right.
So I feel because, important first, good.
Okay, good habit. So what's the second habit then?
Active listening.
Okay.
Okay, so if your spouse, if I'm speaking and I feel because, you need to be listening.
Right.
And not just listening like, You need to be listening, hearing what my statement is about, what I'm feeling and the reasons why I feel that way.
Because my default, men, you're like this, probably women are too. This is a human thing. My default is I'm not really listening to her and her feelings. I'm just preparing my rebuttal, right? We've all been there.
Yes.
And that's just not healthy. So what I'm listening to really understand where you're coming from. So active listening means before I even give my rebuttal,
Right.
I say, so let me see if I've got this right. What I hear you saying is,
That's right.
You feel upset because you feel like I'm disregarding your feelings or I show up late all the time or whatever, and then it gives you an opportunity to
say yes, that's right, or no, you got that wrong. Let me try it again.
Yeah.
But the point is, we're starting a conversation. We're not escalating, we're not withdrawing, we're just talking. We're having a conversation because I didn't put you on the defensive because I used I feel because, and because you're choosing to be an active listener and can speak it back to me makes me feel like, okay, he's tracking.
Now, before we get to the third thing, and this is good, but before we get to it, let me just make a comment because some of you might be thinking, this is psychobabble. Like I really could not see myself using I feel this way because in my relationship with my spouse, or what I hear you saying is ... But let me just say, I felt that way in the past. We actually use these practical habits. Like it might sound a little cheesy, it might feel a little bit cheesy, but it is very useful. It's very helpful, and it's important to establish good communication patterns.
Because they're good skills for learning how to fight right or to keep talking.
So don't dismiss them. They actually work. Just try it. Maybe laugh at it the first time you try it, but it actually does work.
It's very important.
Yeah. So then what's the third final healthy habit?
So if we're having a conversation, then at some point you need to get to solutions. What are we going to do moving forward?
Yeah.
What have we learned from this conversation, from what went wrong? And what are we both going to be doing differently next time to try and avoid this particular conflict?
Yeah.
Because then you're moving forward. And that's why learning to fight right is, it's about movement. It's about growing through the experience. When we're fighting badly and we're using those bad habits and I'm just yelling at you all the time or you're invalidating me, well, we're never even getting to the actual issue at the root of what we're upset about. We're just fighting about the way we fight. So using those good skills gets to that place where we actually can talk about the real issues and move forward and grow as a couple because of it.
Yeah, let me read this verse. This comes from the Bible, from Ephesians 4. This is just such a great, it's almost like a New Testament proverb. It says, don't use foul or abusive language, escalate. Let everything you say be good and helpful so that your words will be an encouragement to those who hear them. Now, this is written for any relationship. But how great of a verse is that for a marriage relationship to say, be an encourager, use your communication, use your words to encourage and build up.
Right.
Couples, husbands, wives, use your words to build up your spouse. Don't use your words to tear down your spouse. Learn how to communicate. That means learn how to fight right. But generally speaking, the principle is this: healthy couples, if you want to be healthy, then you keep talking, you keep communicating.
Keep working through it.
Yeah. Now, again, we've got more resources below. In fact, all of our resources on PursueGOD.org are built to help you keep talking. We encourage you to check out the couples page. We'll put a link to it below so that you are having these regular conversations in your marriage. Make a habit of healthy communication, and you'll be so glad that you did. So, again, use the questions below to talk about this with a marriage mentor or with your spouse. And this wraps up our Marriage Basics series, but I just really encourage you, continue to use more of our couples resources to build up and strengthen your marriage.